Percussion informational meeting. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. Going to let a few more folks hop into the room. So welcome in. Got a nice little crowd here tonight. So it's good to see you all. I guess our first ever Sprayberry Indoor Percussion informational meeting. I'm Mr. Ellis. I'm the Assistant Director at Sprayberry, and I'm going to go through some introductions here in just a moment. But I do want to welcome you all in. It's an exciting time for us to go ahead and open up the possibility of doing an indoor percussion ensemble in our area over at Sprayberry, and something that we've been thinking about for several years. And we decided this is a great year to get out and try to put this ensemble together, especially considering so many performance opportunities have been taken away from our students. As we go into the winter and get into the spring, we're hoping this could be another outlet that they can get in, and something that's very controlled and that can really give them an opportunity to go and perform. And for many of our wind players and percussion students that are into the indoor percussion activity, they can just kind of have some new experiences. So we're going to have an informational meeting tonight, and it's just really going to cover the program. We have a great deal of experience actually with indoor percussion. I cannot wait for you guys to meet and hear from Mr. Alan Sears. He's our Director of Percussion at Sprayberry. I'll let him brag on himself in just a little bit, but a very, very deep resume when it comes to percussion and marching percussion and things alike. But we're very fortunate to have him in our program. And so you'll hear from him for the bulk of the night. He's talking about the program as we go through. And so Mr. Sears, be sure to talk about yourself as we go through that. And we have also with us Mr. Andy Esserwan, Director of Bands at Sprayberry High School. So you'll hear from him a little bit this evening. We also have Mr. Joe Donahue, who's the Director of Percussion at Lasser High School. Welcome in. He's going to be working with the ensemble. So great partnership. And we have two of our returning staff instructors, Mr. Josh Boland and Anya Emikwari. They won't be here this evening, but they will be here working with your kids. Great deal of experience. We do also have a special guest. Mr. James Thompson is here from Lasser High School to listen in. So welcome, Mr. Thompson, as we go through. So lots of musical minds here to help us get through this program and get things started. So tonight is essentially, we're just going to be talking about the program as a whole, and I'm going to toss it to Mr. Sears and kind of let him talk a little bit about indoor percussion and what we're getting into. So, Mr. Sears.
All right. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to, if you're familiar with the indoor activity, this might be, a little boring to you, but just give me 1 second because I know some people know a little bit about it and some people know nothing about it. Some people know a lot. So I'm going to go from the very beginning so that everybody's on the same page. Okay. The easiest way for me to explain this activity to someone who has been in band before is this blends a lot of the things that percussionists do. It's a combination of marching percussion, percussion ensemble, and then something we don't do a lot of, theater. So it's got pageantry elements like what we do in marching band, but is a lot more intimate. It's a smaller ensemble. It's a very stage. The stage is small and focused as opposed to a larger idea outside on the field. And there's a lot more room for individual expression, just like there is group expression in it. Okay. We use a combination of instruments. So we use the marching percussion battery like we would outside. We use keyboard instruments, but it's a little bit of a blend. It is like marching percussion, but also has a lot of elements of how we would do percussion ensemble. And then it's got uh, really a ton of electronics in it. So if you've been following the activity, I know with both band programs in the area, all the band programs in the area. We've been using more and more electronic and sampling music in what we do. Well, WGI really pushed this activity, pushed this idea first. So there's a ton of that in what we do. So when you see it and you're looking at it on the floor, it's going to be a little unlike anything you've ever seen, unless you spend a good amount of time in it. And then also, just because I know there's some parents who used to do some of this stuff a long time ago, indoor is has evolved 2,000% in the last 10 years. It's just not even remotely close to what I did when I was in high school or anything like that. Um, the good thing with what we're doing is, for those of you that don't know, I've been running a WGI Percussion Independent World Ensemble for 18 years now, a long time, and world finalist. We've medaled. So myself and Mr. Donahue and the other staff we have coming in, we've got a pretty deep background in it, which is we feel is going to be a good advantage for us, seeing as how most schools and a lot of schools that start this off, they're jumping in the water all at the same time. They've never done a lot of it, and they kind of have to figure it out as we go along. We're lucky that with the people we have involved, everyone's got a large amount of experience with it, so it should help us hit the ground running pretty good. Um, we'll actually, because it's our first season doing this, we're going to, there's divisions. So we're going to enter in the Percussion Scholastic A division, just because it's our first time doing it. Um, and then we'll let them evaluate us as we go. That's pretty commonplace with this activity. Unlike band, you can get bounced around in the divisions based on your skill set and how you're performing. So with marching band, most of the time it's done by numbers. They'll say, how many numbers do you have? And they'll put you in a class based on that. WGI and indoor percussion is a little different because it's based on skill sets. So like I say, we're going to start in the Percussion Scholastic A division and hit the ground, and we'll see what happens when we go to a few shows. The show itself will be right about 6 minutes. It's a little more compact than what you do with marching band. And that's a good thing because, a lot of times in marching band with percussion, you're not the featured part of what's going on. You're accompaniment and support throughout the production. And then you have moments where you get to take the focus. With this activity, you're the focus the entire time. So, 6 minutes is a lot of content, and you'll start to see that 6 minutes of an indoor show for percussion is almost like 10 minutes of a marching band show for marching percussion. Um, will be entered in the local circuit. WGI is the national sanctioning body, but they're not doing any in-person contests this year, just because they had issues renting arenas and stuff like that with everything going on. So they're only doing virtual events this year, and I'll make sure you guys are exposed to that throughout the year, but it really won't be something we're involved in this year. We will be doing the local circuit, the Georgia Indoor Percussion Association. There, all of it is local. I don't think any of the shows that are on the calendar this year are more than about 40 to 45 minutes from where we're at, but some are even closer than that, like 20, 30 minutes away. All pretty localized to where we're at in our area. Um, so we'll do two of those local circuit shows, and then we'll do championships inside the circuit. So we'll end up with those performances, and maybe depending on how everything goes, maybe we'll do like a parent night or something where we can get parents to come in and check out what we're doing. Obviously as circumstances permit. Obviously, this is a different activity. Well, it's kind of the same when you go get judged. This is the same, except our classifications and how we're evaluated is broken up a little differently than marching band. I won't get too deep into that, but we will talk about that. You'll learn about that as the season goes on. But we'll have a panel of judges that evaluate us at every show. And they're all really skilled. One thing I really enjoy about this activity is you're directly talking to these judges from a staff perspective all the time, and we can relay that information in a much more clean fashion to you than just trying to interpret it from a tape. We get to actually have dialogue with these guys, and we get a chance to kind of explain what it is we're trying to do, and they get a chance to tell us what's confusing. So it's a good back and forth that you don't really get a lot of in just regular marching band. That's more akin to DCI kind of stuff. Um, we will compete against other ensembles. It looks like JEPA is going to have currently right now somewhere between 18 and 20 ensembles, and the PSA division, there looks like there's going to be 10 or 11 of them. So that'll give us a good amount of contest and the competitive factor, which is nice. I like to blend that with the education factor and the concepts that we do. It kind of makes it a little more fun. And one thing I love about the community is everybody's very supportive. So it's competitive, and you want to do well, but everybody's out there supporting everybody. So it's a very unique kind of thing locally. Um, all those competitions that we do, by the way, just for reference, will be on Saturdays. So that's 3 Saturdays that'll have to get booked. We'll talk about the calendar a little bit. So you'll have 3 Saturdays that you'll have to be at. And then we'll probably have one Saturday rehearsal somewhere in there. Again, as circumstances permit, we want to make sure that we're following all the guidelines the county has for us and stuff. As far as who is can participate in this, we're super excited to be able to ask our neighbors just a little north of us to come participate with us this year. We're very excited about that, having Lassiter kids come in. Hopefully, there's still a couple of little building blocks. I'll let those guys talk about that at the end, that we got little hurdles we got to clear. But we're hoping that that's going to be something that can happen. Uh, the ensemble's open to anyone that can read music. Okay, so what does that mean? So if somebody from the orchestra wants to be in, they can be in. Somebody who plays a different instrument in the band wants to do it, they can be in. uh, I've even had in the past at some of the other schools I work at, people from the choral department do it. So anybody that really wants to can read music on a proficient level, and they want to scratch that percussion itch, which most people have. I always tell people, if you set up 5 instruments in a band room and you just have strangers walk through, they're going to go hit that drum every time. So this is everybody an opportunity who kind of maybe might want to experiment around and learn something about percussion. It gives them a chance to do it. Obviously, some of the more skilled positions are harder to get if if you don't have a lot of experience. Like, it's hard for somebody who's only played flute their whole life to come in and make snare drum without lots of work in that regard. However, the the instrumentation of the ensemble is such that we can find something for everybody to do, and something that's going to challenge them and they can contribute to the overall production. So whether that's playing rack stuff uh, and keyboards in the front, to electronics, to playing bass drum, cymbals, whatever, this gives you an opportunity to do something that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone musically if you're not a percussionist. Okay. Um, Another thing is, it's on the list here. You can see is the short-term development on an instrument. I like that a lot, because some of you guys coming in, like I said, it will be your secondary instrument. So you coming in and showing us that, yeah, you don't know a lot about percussion, but you're picking up your major scales really nicely on a marimba or vibraphone, and you're listening to the technique and applying it. That lets us know where to best put you, right? It gives you a chance to kind of learn that new skill set, like I was saying. Uh, the attendance for rehearsals and performances are very, very important. This season, normally, if you're doing indoor, we would have already started a month ago. Okay. But we were waiting to get permission and make sure we could do it safely and do everything that we needed to do. Once we, cleared all those hurdles, we kind of got this thing going. But attending these rehearsals are always important. But now, since the season is shorter, more compact, they're very important. So there's always times where, if you've got something going on, or if you're truly sick If you've got, especially with COVID going on, if you've got to miss, that's totally fine. But you have to be a responsible student. If you have a tendency to kind of get behind on your grades, and then your mom says, well, you can't go to rehearsal because you're behind on this, it might not be a good year for you to do it. So I want you guys to kind of evaluate that on an individual case by case basis. um, you know what your work ethic is and how you're doing in school and what's going on. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about doing it. We will rehearse. You can see in the rehearsals, it says 2 to 3 rehearsals a week. What we'll do is in the beginning, since we're trying to play catch up, we'll do 3 a week like a normal marching band schedule. And then by the time we get, end of January, beginning of February, we'll cut that back to 2. We won't need quite as much time to get things, accomplished, the things accomplished that we need. Also, I'm a big proponent of, I'm not going to rehearse you if we've already achieved the goals that we have going on, right? So, an example is if we say we're going to have a Monday rehearsal, you know, every week, but then we're caught up, we're past where we want to get, I'll go ahead and remove those from the calendar. I don't want you to have to be there spinning your wheels. As long as we get all of our stuff done, I'm good to go. Uh, all the rehearsals that we do will be in the Sprayberry Fine Arts Building, or outdoors right around it. We're real lucky at Sprayberry to have a really large band room, because gym space is so hard to come by. Our band room is almost the size, it's barely short, and we've come up with a way to get around that so that we can learn our drill in our band room and do everything that we need to do, with you know in what am I trying to say here, in relation to our visual component. We know what we'll be able to do. We're going to write it for that environment. It's going to translate great. We're real lucky in that regard. We might, well, not might, we will try to get the gym a few times when we can, obviously. Or we've discussed a little bit like maybe a gym in the area somewhere if we're trying to do like a parent show or trying to rehearse before a contest or something. All that information, like where we're actually going to rehearse, whether it be in the band room or be in the gym at the school or whatever, you'll know that stuff well in advance. So that shouldn't be anything that you'd have to worry about. Um, and then also you see on there the occasional Saturday. I think we'll probably have at least one in there to get things going. And then I've already talked about the performances part at the bottom. So yeah, that's it for me. I mean, I'm real excited about the possibility of doing this. Like Mr. Ellis said, we've talked about this for a while. And just so you guys know, Atlanta Quest, the other organization that I run, and I write music for that organization as well, and teach there. Um, when I first started Quest 18 years ago, it was at a level where the kids Sprayberry and local schools, they could make it. It was, the skill sets were relative there to what was going on in high school. As it has grown over the years, it got too big and was attracting. Right now, Quest attracts kids from all over the country. To be honest with you, they come from Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama. Every weekend, we've had people move here from Texas. We had somebody move here from Japan who wanted to do it so bad they moved here from Japan to be in it. You can ask Mr. Donahue about that. He marched with him. But it got really super competitive. So we started a second ensemble called Q2, and that was more in line with the high school skill sets. And now it's grown to the point where it's very difficult for high schoolers to make it. So now us starting a scholastic ensemble just kind of makes sense, because I want everybody that wants to do this activity and wants to develop their skills this way, I want them to have that opportunity. And this is something where you can't get cut. Like if you want to be in the ensemble, you're going to be in the ensemble. May not be on the exact instrument you want, but we will find something, like I said, for you to do that you will enjoy and you will contribute to the ensemble. So that's it for me. I'll stick around for any questions at the end, but I think Mr. Esterline is going to tell you about the safety protocols that we got going on so that everybody can feel comfortable in that regard.
Hey everybody, my name is Andy Esserwine. I'm the director of bands at Sprayberry, so it's good to see you guys. If I haven't met you, hopefully I will soon. One of the big discussions that we've had with this indoor season has obviously been the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how to make sure that we keep everybody safe. We had a really good opportunity during the marching band season. What that was, it was very different this year. Obviously, we had a very good opportunity during the marching band season to put some really good protocols in place, and we feel very comfortable with them at this point. They are not 100% guaranteed, obviously, but especially with those protocols, plus how the kids have been handling being back at school. For the most part, most of the kids we have been back at school with us. We feel very good about moving forward. The one big difference, obviously, is that a good portion of this activity is inside, so that does create a little bit of a difference in terms of the protocols from marching band to indoor. So we're going to continue to develop these protocols. We're going to continue to build them and make sure that we're keeping students, staff, family members safe, and do everything we can. So if you look at the screen, basically these are the processes that we're going to use. The most important thing that we can do is before a student arrives into rehearsal is to make sure that the temperatures are good and make sure that they have filled out a questionnaire about their health. This is the questionnaire that was filled out for the marching band, the one that the CCSD put together based off of the GMEA recommendations from this summer. I believe it's 16 questions about your health. Have you felt sore? Have you felt tired, fatigued? Basically, things that would lead you to see if you're sick or not. Mr. Sears was very clear about attendance and that we need students at every rehearsal. Obviously, this year is a little bit different in that if you have any concerns that you're sick or that you are getting sick or you've been around somebody who's sick, then we will encourage you not to be at rehearsal for that day. Now, obviously, everything else, we need you there if you're feeling good, but we don't want students coming to rehearsal if they are not feeling well. It's very, very important because that could really shut us down for a while. If we have any kind of cases get within our students, it could shut down the activity for a while. We don't want to do that. So basically, every student will have a QR code that we will use for the entire season. The QR code will be a check-in for each day. So every day that the student arrives at rehearsal, they will get checked in and they'll get their temperature checked. If the temperature is below 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit, then they can enter rehearsal, and we will have a log of every student who has been in rehearsal. We'll know the structure of the rehearsal, basically where they are for the time, so that if we did have any issues, that we could do some contact tracing and figure out who we need to let know. So that QR, as I said, will be the same. I will put that form together tomorrow. It will be ready for Thursday. And once your student knows it, what we told our kids at Sprayberry is basically um, they fill it out, all the 16 questions about their health. They fill it out prior to rehearsal. When they arrive at rehearsal, they get their temperature, they input that on the form, and then they hit submit. And we will have it, and we will be able to contact trace if necessary. Um, we will, as best we can, do social distancing. Obviously, when we are putting a show together and students are moving, if you imagine basketball or wrestling or any of the sports that are occurring right now, it will be difficult to be 6 feet all the time. We just can't do that. But we will attempt in every situation where we can, when we are doing music, when we are doing things that are stationary, we will try to space out as much as possible. Masks will be required at all times. That it's just something we're going to have to do. We will put as much ventilation into the rooms as we can. Mr. Sears mentioned the size of our band room. We also have a very good sized orchestra room and chorus room directly adjacent to our band room. So we have quite a few rehearsal areas that we will be able to use to break up the groups as much as we can. We will open doors into the rooms as much as possible. So we'll be able to keep a pretty good distance, but with the masks and with the temperature checks and with a lot of diligence from parents, not letting your students come if you think that they have been in a situation where they've been around COVID. That will help us a lot as we go through the season. As if we find that there are issues, then we will obviously work to correct those as much as we can. These guidelines are the marching band guidelines that CCSD put out. There could be more coming in terms of internal, winter guidelines. internal winter guidelines for winter sports. I checked with our AD recently, and there was nothing new in terms of those. So we feel very good about putting these in place. It's just a lot of diligence on everybody's part. It's making sure that when we're on breaks, you're not kids are not clumping up, things like that, things that we've been discussing in school. So there could be changes down the road. We could have some new guidelines to put into place, some new protocols. When we get closer to competition season, we'll talk about how we'll handle those. I doubt that we would be at any school for an entire day, maybe championships, but it would probably be more of an arrival, warm up, perform, stay a little bit, and move on, so that we're not in any one place for any great amount of time. So, safety of the students is and their families is the most important thing, and this is kind of the protocols we'll follow. So, when you come to rehearsal on Thursday, Mr. Ellis or myself will be standing at the door, and we'll check the kids in. We'll have the QR code available, and we'll put that up on the sprayberryband.com/indoor page as well, so that you can have it. And as I said, it'll be the same code for the entire season, so we can keep everything right in a line. So that's our protocols. Remember, please, that we are still awaiting approvals for some things, awaiting approvals for competitions, and awaiting approvals. So things could change down the road. And if they do, we will certainly communicate that to everybody as quickly as we can. So thanks so much for being here. I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Ellis, who will kind of close this out, give you a few last items, and then we will open up for questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Eswine. I will speak just a little bit about not fun stuff, that is fees and registration. Indoor percussion is like winter guard and marching band. These are extracurricular activities, and especially with an indoor percussion ensemble, we have to fund this program from the ground up. And the only way we can do that is through student fees, especially in the absence of complete fundraising. I think every program around is hurting for fundraising at this point. So for us to run the program properly, we're going to have to charge the students some type of participation fee. And as you can see there, fees will be based on the number of students that are participating. Indoor drumline, like winter guard, is very unique. We do have a basic budget structure that we work off of. And if you take a budget item such as uniforms, well, the more kids that do the activity, the more uniforms we would have to buy. And that goes for equipment and things like that. And then there's some built-in funds that you will need throughout the year, especially, moving equipment, registering for shows, buying and music for the performances and things like that, and of course paying your staff instructors. These are some built-in budgetary items that we have to take care of. Now, it is our goal to make this very, very, very achievable, and so our goal is to get over 30 kids to be participating in the indoor percussion ensemble. And I can tell you we're very, very close to that. All right. I know the level of interest is above that quite a bit. But when it comes down to making that final commitment, we need to hit that 30 number to make the budget work out for everybody. So I'll tell you that it will be, once we make that final decision, it will be between somewhere between $450 and $500 for the season. And the season goes from December, these rehearsals that we're going to have starting this week and next week, into the end of March, right? And I can have Mr. Sears correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I think basically it's a 4-month season. And all of these, the fee structure and everything that we pay for is going to be listed on the website, sprayberryband.com/indoor, so you can see just a basic itemization of what we are going to use these fees for. The fees can be paid monthly. We can split that out over 4 months. That's worked very well for our marching program and our winter guard program, to pay over time. That way you're not burdened with a lump sum of money, or you can pay in full. All right, you can just go ahead and pay all of that in full. And all of this is online. We will make a final decision about the budget sometime next week, after we do the 2 two rehearsals, the two interest / audition rehearsals that we have. Once we know that, we'll know the makeup of the group, and we can better have a better approach to the budget. But we are going to aim to keep this as low as possible, and it may even go lower than that if we get interest above, and if we can pay the bills and stay afloat. So this is a little bit of a work in progress with a new organization starting up, and with the number of kids that are participating in flux right now. So we're going to try to keep it around these numbers. We do need every student, every family to commit to paying the fee in full for this to work. And of course, if there's, if a student or family really wants to do this, we are certainly available to work with you if you want a little more time to pay off the fee structure, and we can certainly work around that. But absolutely, please communicate with us. Our first mission is to get your student participating in an activity that we think is great for them and we think is gonna pay off for them in the long term. All right, so really speak to us about that, and we'll put up some communication targets here in just a little bit. But that's around about where it's going to cost to run and operate the season. And again, that itemization is on the website, but we're talking travel, equipment, music design, show design, uniforms, staff, instructional fees. We have to pay these professionals for their time with your students. And if you think about this investment, there are kids that are going out and buying game systems now that are well above this, myself included. So, you can invest this much money in months of just great musical enrichment I think is well worth it. So, but we're willing to work with you, and we'll produce a final number on the website and a breakdown sometimes towards the end of next week. So be on the lookout for that. Registration, we do have registration. All of our registration activities this year are online. So on that same indoor percussion page that we have at sprayberryband.com, we will have a link to online registration. I know on the Sprayberry side of things, if you participated in a marching band, you've already filled out a lot of this paperwork to participate in marching band. And I think, with our last year students, we may be able to transfer some of those Cobb County documents over. That's something that we'll have to negotiate as we get through, but we will have some type of basic online registration. So if little Susie wants to commit to doing the indoor drumline, she'll needs to go there and sign up and register. And then you'll have to make a choice about how you're going to play, whether you're going to pay over 4 months or 5 months, or how we'll do that. And you'll make those commitments there, and you'll fill out those required Cobb County documents. And all of the in-person signatures that we get, we usually will do that after we get the online commitment. Okay, so we'll roll all of that through, and we'll have all that clear. But to lock in your spot, and to go back to what Mr. Sears says, when we're designing this show, if we know that there's going to be 25 kids marching, then you need to claim your spot, and you do that by registering into the program. And then we know that little Susie is going to be marching the cymbals, or marching the snare drum, or playing the marimba, and we can kind of know and go ahead and sort of lock that spot away. So lots more to come. Keep visiting sprayberryband.com/indoor for more information about registration. And we're still working through some approvals. I think we're about 96% there, I think. And so once all of those get into place, we will start to put things in concrete on the website. So keep looking out for a registration link and some more information with all of that. So now's the time for you all to ask any questions. You can certainly put this in the chat feature of Zoom. You can just kind of put in a question there, or you can unmute and ask it at that point. So we'll open up the floor for any questions for our panelists as we have here. So any questions? Ready to go. Any questions? Mr. S.Y., do you have a question?
I was waiting for a question.
I think I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay, so do we have an audition packet?
Mr. Sears?
Yeah, so because our time crunch happened this way, and we normally if we had more time to plan, we would have a particular audition. But what we're going to do now is there's a couple of, and Mr. Donahue and I spoke about this the other day. On the Sprayberry web page, if you go there to our drumline page, um, 2020 drumline, I think it is like sprayberryband.org/2020 drumline. You can find it. There's already some battery exercises listed as fundamentals underneath there. That's just stuff we play over at Sprayberry, and I'm sure since my kid is at Lassiter, you guys have things that are parallel, similar things that you play. So what we're going to do is get everybody together, get everybody to play, evaluate your individual skill sets on things that you already know. And I think Mr. Esserwan just put the link up in the chat where I was talking about. But we're going to evaluate you on similar skill sets based on what you know and can do. One thing that's going to be a little bit unique about this ensemble, if it does in fact get its final approval and we can merge the two groups together, we won't be like moving anybody off. The goal here is to educate and develop skill sets for all the students. So if someone is, you know, already playing snare drum at Lassiter and they know what's going on, when they come here, they're most likely just going to play snare drum with us. We're not going to be moving anybody out from Sprayberry. We'll just add an additional snare drum to what we're doing. The instrumentation is very flexible. Same kind of thing, you know. If someone's got marimba chops in either school, they're going to play marimba. We're not set in stone on a particular number of instruments, with the exception of bass drums for sure. We won't be able to have more than 5, and then practically speaking, you know, we can't have like 10 snare drums or 8 tenors or anything like that. But I don't anticipate that's going to be a problem with what we have. In the keyboard world, between what we have access to currently, there's not going to be any issues there either. So I don't want anybody to sweat the audition too much, is basically what I'm getting at. It doesn't need to be something you need to overly concern yourself with. You just need to work on your particular skill sets. If you want to go on to the website and download those exercises, you'll be able to see in a very short period of time, oh, we do this, it's almost just like it. That's completely fine. When you come in, you can play what you already know. That way, we're just evaluating you on your particular skill set. So I know that's a long answer to say no, there's not an official audition packet, but I just wanted to be clear about how we'll be evaluating you guys.
All right. We have a question. How long are rehearsals?
Yeah, so when we're in the 3-day format, it'll be pretty close to what you do in marching band. When we're in the 3-day format at the beginning of the season, it'll be 1 day of 2 hours, which will be our sectional day, where you'll get to split up and learn your music and focus on that in the beginning. And then the other days will be a 3-hour block, like what you do in marching band. We're going to start pretty close to, you know, I realize depending on when everything comes through, we'll have to give a lot of time for you guys to get down the road a little bit. But it's not a long drive. So we're going to start pretty soon after school, maybe 4:15 ish, so that we can get you guys home early to handle everything else that you have going on. So we won't be doing any rehearsals where you have to go home and then have to figure out how to get back. So that way we just minimize everybody's travel.
All right. So Brandon wants to know how much of this is in line to fall marching band, how colleges and whatnot see it as an extracurricular. Basically, the benefits of doing this. So it looks like the question is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll carry the benefit of anything else. I mean, you'll definitely be able to list it on your application as an extracurricular that you participated in. Um, a lot of people do, and if you happen to go to a school, if music's something you want to do, even as a side thing, it doesn't have to be your major. doing something like this looks good on there. But it's like any extracurricular. You'll be able to list it, of course.
Yeah, Mr. Sears, are you going to use the same 3 days each week, like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? Will that
Yes.
change? Okay.
Now right now we're talking Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Um, and you like I say, we're not going to flip the rehearsal schedule on you. If we lose, I'll give you an example. If we lose like a Tuesday, we're not going to try to make it up on a Wednesday if something happens and we can't do a Tuesday. So we don't like to get in there and flex your schedule too much. We want it to be consistent for you guys. So it'll be like right now the way it looks, just so I can say this and don't hold me to it, because obviously depending on who's in the ensemble and what we got to do for time allotments, we're talking about Monday, Tuesday, Thursday in the month of January. And then as we complete our goals on learning the actual musical content, we'll take those Mondays out, with the possibility of maybe the week of championships, when we're leading up to the local circuit championships, we might do the Monday that week to give us the time. But generally speaking, it's just going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and those Mondays will kind of go away as we get into the season.
Yeah, and I know that we're going to try to produce a calendar maybe at the end of next week that'll be a bit more detailed. So those of you with jobs, or I see that someone plays a spring sport, we can kind of work out times, and we'll produce that calendar, and then you'll know. We should have a pretty good idea by the end of the week, I think, Mr. Sears, right?
Yeah.
As far as rehearsal times and things like that. So that part of it's still fluid. I know some of you have jobs, other commitments that you want to do. We want to try to make this work for as many people as we can. So we can be flexible with that, and that way you can kind of get into a solid schedule, and we're not going to try to catch anybody off guard. And the Zoom recording to rewatch, we will post this probably tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. We'll post this on sprayberryband.com/indoor. We'll make a YouTube video of all of this, right? Any other questions? Okay.
I don't know if
Yeah.
we talked about this, but we have the audition on Thursday, right? And then are we still doing that rehearsal on Monday?
Yes.
So I guess if anyone can't make the Thursday thing, but they're super interested in it still, just email either Mr. Sears or myself or any of the band directors here, and there's definitely a possibility that you can get in on Monday to be tried out and have just as much of a shot as everybody else. So yeah, don't be afraid if there's like any kind of conflict like that, especially at the beginning here, since it's so like quick to happen. To just reach out to one of us and we can figure something out for sure.
Yeah, and Mr. Donahue, can you talk a little bit about what, say if I'm a flute player and I've never played marimba before, what that experience might be like showing up on Thursday?
Sure, yeah. Specifically to the front ensemble, we'll probably focus a little bit on like scales and stuff, and then especially on how to hold the mallets and physically play the instrument the way that we're going to for the season. So yeah, if you're like a wind player trying to do it, you'll definitely be able to play the scales. Maybe looking at a piano between now and then would be a good thing to do, just to start visualizing it, because our instrument is way more indirect than say a flute is, or a trumpet, where you're touching the keys all the time. You're able to, you don't have to look at your instrument to play, and you can touch everything like really quickly. So that's like direct contact. But with any keyboard thing, we're gonna have to use some mallets, 2 or 4 mallets, to play the same kind of stuff, the same kind of scales and things. So that might be a little daunting at the beginning, but as long as you have read music before, like Mr. Sears was saying, you'll be able to pick it up pretty quickly, and have a great shot at it. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Yeah.
I know you talked about three shows, 2 local circuit shows, and a championship. What do you have any idea of what the equipment needs for that will be, and whether this will Is it going to have any conflict with the white trailer with um, Winter Guard?
Yeah. Mr. Sears, you want to tackle that?
Yeah, this is a semi-only business with what we're doing. Uh, so
Okay.
every time we go somewhere, we'll have to move the semi. That's one of the things it does have in common with marching band. With both my organizations, we use a semi with one, and then we have a massive pool behind this 36 feet for the smaller ensemble. So it requires a lot of space. So with us, we'll be using our semi for those. It's 2 local shows and championships. So 3 times we'll be looking at moving that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
And if for some crazy reason we want to go rehearse in a different location, we may need to pay for a move, but we'll know that ahead of time. All right. Any other questions? Do we need to bring anything on Thursday?
Yeah, bring your own implements if possible. One thing that we are trying to make sure that we um, do is not trade a bunch of equipment back and forth. Okay. I realize with bass drum, it might be a little tough, but we'll have some hand sanitizer there. But for anything else, if you are a percussionist, bring your own sticks and mallets. If you're not a percussionist, and let's say you're not a percussionist and you're trying out for the front, we'll give you a set of mallets when you come in, and you just keep those the entire time you're there. So one thing we're going to do is try to cut down on that so people aren't swapping hands back and forth with different mallets. So just bring whatever you got in terms of implements, and then we'll handle the rest.
Okay. Excellent. And as you guys have more and more questions, feel free to email any of us, right? Directors@sprayberryband.com. It will go here. Last for folks, you can connect these with your directors. I'm sure you already have that information, and then we'll get the right answer to you, whether we have to pass that question around to a few folks before we do that. All right. So thank you for that. And I'll wrap up with a little bit of what we need to do now. So the next 2 events that we have we're going to have 2 audition/placement rehearsals. First being on this Thursday, the 10th, from 4 to 6 p.m. And both of these are going to be at Sprayberry in the band room. We'll meet in the band room after we check in. So we'll meet you there. We'll check you in. We'll do the temperature check. We'll have you do the questionnaire. So please bring an electronic device you can to check in on. You can do it on your cell phone, just pretty easy. You'll come in. We'll spread out and have us a quick little meet, socially distanced in the band room, and let Mr. Sears, Mr. Donahue speak about what they want. And then we'll do some breakouts where, if you're interested in doing bass drum or, if you want to learn front ensemble keyboard stuff, electronics, things like that. So we'll get you to the right location. And for a couple hours, you're going to have some staff and instructors there just kind of walking you through everything. And we're going to do this for 2 days, Thursday and once again on Monday. Try to come both days if you can. If you have to miss a day, that's fine. Just come on the next day. And the whole point of all of this is to get everybody in the same location and to get you kind of going through your paces. And hopefully by the end of next week, the staff can get together and say, okay, we're going to put these kids on snare drum and on tenors, and all of these kids are going to play keyboard. And we'll develop some kind of communication system, maybe like the band app, or something that's easy that we can communicate with everybody there. And then we'll start to send out some information saying that these kids made these instruments. That way we get into January after the break, and we sort of know probably up to a 90 percentile level of who's playing what. I'm sure there might be some positions we may have to move around yet as we go through, but that's going to give enough information and data to the staff to start planning and designing the show as we go forward. So you should have an idea walking out the door at the end of next week about where you're going to place, or whether or not you want to decide to do the ensemble. So that's what these 2 rehearsals are. And if you have any issues getting there, Again, we're going to put our contact information on this page. I'll do it tomorrow morning, actually. And you can just shoot us an email, hey, I'm interested in doing this, but I can't get there Thursday. Can, come on, just communicate with us. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. And then we'll set you there. And so, Mr. E or Mr. Sears was down. If you have anything to add to that before I finish up, no.
Yeah, somebody asked, do you come to both? And
Yeah.
yeah, ideally you come to both as long as you can. If you've got some kind of conflict or something that's going on, not a big deal. You can talk to me if you're a Sprayberry kid, or Mr. Donahue if you're a Laster kid, and we'll get it worked out. I don't want, like I said earlier, since we're getting this together very quickly, I don't want conflicts with scheduling to prevent anybody from doing it. So if you've got any kind of conflict, make sure you speak to us pretty early, and we'll get all that stuff together. If you look in the chat, Mr. Donahue just put his email in the chat. So if you guys have any questions for him, you can send it in there. But yeah, try to come to both if you can. I do realize, I do want to point out, I think Lassiter's final schedule is a little different than ours, if I'm not mistaken. If you've got something going on and Monday doesn't work for you because you're concerned about a final, if that's the case, then that's fine. We want you to do well in school more than anything. So just kind of keep us informed about what might be going on.
All right. All right. And lastly, to finish up, parents, this activity is not just for the kids. We need your help. And especially with the new program that's just starting, if you've seen the massive amount of support that we have for our marching program, we're not as large as a marching band, but we do have lots of pieces of equipment. We do need chaperones for chaperoning rehearsals. We would love to have at least a couple chaperones at every single rehearsal. That's to take care of any medical needs and any kind of assistance that the staff may need so they can continue instructing. And so, we've been around this activity enough. So anything that you can do will help greatly. I know I kind of tasked the Sprayberry boosters with helping out. We would certainly love some help from the Laster organization if we can get everything coordinated both ways, and every little bit helps. On the website, I'm still developing some communication for the parents. We'll set something up for you all, but I think we have enough to get started. But we'll certainly need some help on rehearsals, and then especially on performance days, getting out there, helping unload the truck and moving equipment to the different show sites, and and there might be an occasion where we have to make sure the kids are fed. I don't, we'll have to see how we do that in the COVID era, but we'll get it all worked out. So parents, there's a role for you, and certainly reach out if you're interested in helping out in any capacity. We'll have that. So any final thoughts, Mr. Sears?
No, just we're real excited about it. And if you guys know somebody who you think would like to do this, that's not in this meeting, make sure you hit them up, tell them to check out. I think Mr. E's going to post the recording somewhere, I guess, right? Yep. Of the actual meeting, so they can get information. And we want people that are passionate about music and enjoy it and want to have a good time. So. And actually learn some stuff too. So if you know anybody that fits that criteria that you think would work, bring them on. We'll make room for everybody.
Final thoughts, Mr. Donahue. Good.
Just like Mr. says, we're super excited to see you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, we are really, really excited. I do want to put one point of clarity. If you're a wind player and you're coming in to participate in the indoor drum line, it is the expectation that you will still march your wind instrument if you marching band in the years following this. I know that there's trends elsewhere in other places where people do indoor percussion and they want to switch to percussion during marching band. This is to give you the opportunity to do percussion, but we want you to still do your wind instrument in marching band. So please keep that in mind, and parents, please help us with that. I know drumline and front is very exciting and it's fun and it's a cool thing, but we don't want to lose wind players by giving them the opportunity to have this experience. So that's just something for the future. So thank you so much, everybody. Again, there are a lot of permissions that still have to get done. We're just waiting for certain things to happen, but we're very excited to move forward and can't wait to see this thing take off. So thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Mr. Thompson? Say hello.
Hi, everybody. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I've had the good fortune of teaching at a school with a established indoor program, and I can tell you that you are in excellent hands with Mr. Sears, Mr. Donahue, and others. I think this is going to be the start to something truly incredible. And hopefully, after you jump through those last few hurdles, everybody will get to see how special of an opportunity this is.
Yep. And so with that, thank you all very much. And like I said, we'll post this video at sprayberryband.com. That way you can kind of go through once again and get a refresher on the meeting and what we did. So thank you all. And we hope to see many, many of you on Thursday at 4 o'clock, ready to get your temperature checked as we get into this activity. So let's go for it. Let's have fun. Okay. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye-bye.